الله الرحمن الرحيم، الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا بكم في سيشن جديد من 2030 Leaders Mic، ومعانا اليوم القائدة الملهمة المبدعة رنا السبيل. أهلا وسهلا بك يا رنا.
أهلا دينا، شكرا.
إحنا we are excited حقيقة. أنت من الناس اللي يعني ما تحب الأضواء، ولكن نشكرك على أنك يعني you are going to inspire us today with your يعني journey and creativity. فخلينا نتعرف على رنا the person. Who is رنا؟
شكرا دينا على هذه الفرصة وعلى إتاحة هذا المنبر صراحة، سواء لي ولا العديد من القادة. أنا ممكن I would describe myself as a very calm and dreamy person. هذه هي طبيعتي. لو جيت أوصف نفسي، إنسانة جدا حالمة، imaginative، نوعا ما أعيش في عالم موازي من أفكاري، لكن عمليا أنا جدا واقعية، غير متهورة، متحفظة جدا في قراراتي. أنا من مواليد مدينة جدة وعاشقة لهذه المدينة، لأنها كانت دائما يعني definition of home، لأني تربيت خارج السعودية معظم حياتي كطفولة يعني حتى إلى الجامعة، فكانت دائما جدة هي مكان العودة، هو الوطن اللي أشوف فيه أهلي وأحس بانتماء جدا قوي. فأنا عشت في دول عديدة، منها مصر، منها إيطاليا، منها لندن، منها هونغ كونغ. تخرجت من الهاي سكول in هونغ كونغ. بعد ما تخرجت قلت خلاص أنا I'm done living abroad, it's time to go home. حاولت أرجع السعودية أدرس الجامعة، مع أنه كان يعني the norm is the opposite، بس كان عندي احتياج جدا قوي إني أرجع السعودية وأكون بين ناس يشبهوني مرة. لكن للأسف كانت شهادتي الثانوية مرة مختلفة، لدرجة إنه ما هم يعني الجامعة نفسها ما عارفة كيف تعادلها، فما عرفوا إيش يسووا فيها، ما هي الستاندرد اللي يجيهم في هذاك الزمن، فما قبلوني. فقلت okay, the next or the closest thing to that would be دبي. فقررت أروح أدرس في دبي، درست banking and finance. حسيت إنه هي حتكون يعني transition point جميلة ما بين the east and the west اللي كنت عايشة فيه، لكن لقيت إنه يعني في النهاية دولة عربية مسلمة I can feel like I belong. فكان قرار جدا جميل، وخصوصا إنه يعني تعرفت أول مرة يكون عندي أصدقاء من السعودية، لأنه أنا ما كان عندي إلا أقارب، فكان إحساس جدا جدا جميل وقتها. ما أقدر أقول عندي هوايات غريبة مثلا or I do anything exciting، بس أنا يعني سعادتي هي البحر. فجزء كبير من تمسكي بمدينة جدة هو طبعا وجود البحر. حتى even my first word as a baby كانت بحر.
واو.
فروت موجود يعني في الDNA حقي.
ما شاء الله تبارك الله. So you traveled around the world, lived around the world basically. وأكيد هذا رب يعني experiences مختلفة. So tell us what shaped Rana the leader.
جزء كبير من shaping me as a leader actually was because of this exposure to living abroad. كطفولة أنا عشت طفولة جدا جميلة. I used to walk to school, I used to ride my bike to the park, very textbook childhood. لكن لما دخلت على my teenage years and we moved to Hong Kong, I was in 10th grade. لسه في هذا العمر الشخص يبدأ يكتشف شخصيته وإيش البرينسيبلز اللي أنا حكمل عليها as an adult، وأنا حتميز عن غيري بإيش. the first day of school in a new country, new system، حتى I was the only one يعني from my siblings in that school. We woke up in the morning, it was Monday, وكان في typhoon warning. School was cancelled طبعا to my relief. And we stayed home and chilled. Woke up on Tuesday, no typhoon warning, but the TV was blasting أكثر من العادة. My parents were stuck to the TV watching I looked at the screen and I couldn't really understand what was going on. It's New York, it's destruction, it's smoke everywhere. What happened? It was 9/11, my first day of school. So يعني at that age, at that time, we weren't really exposed to, wars and terror. So I didn't think much of it. I went to school, I arrived, and to my shock, people are crying on the floor, hugging. It's an international school. So يعني the news hit close to home for the majority of the student body. Why did that incident in particular يعني, had an impact on me and shaped me as a leader? Because I had to navigate the existing narrative that was the case in that time, at that place, being the only Arab in school, being the only practicing Muslim in school. There were a few here and there, but يعني, just by name. In a time where mainstream media, which is what we all consumed before the emergence of social media, was extremely anti me and people who look like me.
Yeah.
And having to make peace with it and make friends with it and excel socially was a huge challenge. So I had to suppress a lot of my opinions, for example, and undersell a lot of my values and basically hide who I am to a very large extent in order to make peace and just يعني التعايش مع الأوضاع. I did have a very hard time making friends. I did have a very hard time fitting in. But at that age, coming back home here was the same case. Because I was exposed to a culture that was not really understood here in terms of the things I read, the music I listened to, the lifestyle I had. يعني going through that kind of cultural challenge at that young age had an impact on me until now, because I had to utilize and develop skills that I didn't have, such as being empathetic, being tolerant, being reserved when it comes to expressing yourself, not to the point of oppression يعني الحمد لله, بس مراعاة للشخص اللي أمامك. It taught me adaptability at a very scary يعني rate. At 1 year of my life مثلا, I lived in 3 cities and had to attend 3 different schools.
Wow.
So even not يعني 2 semesters, لا, between نفس السمستر in 2 schools. So I just had to adapt. I had to learn how to adapt and move on and make the best out of it. So يعني later on in my professional progress, I noticed that being this able to adapt quickly gave me the resilience I needed to face really tough challenges, whether it's organizational, it's departmental, it's project-based, and so on. Now, I would say what shaped me as a leader as well from a professional standpoint, not personal, is that I joined the workforce in 2007 as one of the first few females in an organization. And I remember it was a very good leadership kind of development, future managers kind of program in the National Commercial Bank, where we do a bit of classroom training, on-job training, some rotations, and then we get assigned into roles. So after the 6 months, I was assigned into this particular division, and we met the division head, me and my male colleague. And I remember in that meeting, I'm sitting in front of this leader, this executive, and had lots of questions about what was coming and what was expected and so on. So I used to direct the questions to him, and he used to direct the answers to my colleague. And I remember looking at him like, I asked you, would you mind giving me at least some eye contact and acknowledge that I exist? It was very strange, but after I left and I spoke to my manager, he told me, you were forced on him. He didn't want any females in his department. You're the first, and it wasn't his choice, so يعني اصبري عليه. I realized it wasn't something personal. It wasn't against me. He just doesn't know how to deal with this change of corporate culture. So he needed his space. He needed his time. I'm able to grasp what was going on a lot better than him, even though he had 15 years more experience than he did. And that gave me a sense of comfort that I can take it, I can slow down, I'll keep away from him until he gets used to the idea. وما شاء الله يعني I owe him a lot later on because he really helped me grow and يعني gain opportunities that wouldn't have been يعني given to me by anyone else because he really believed in me.
MashaAllah.
But another or a third element that I would say shaped me as a leader is the people. I was very fortunate and very blessed to be surrounded from a very young age. I was very influenced by my father and his work ethic. So he's been working in the same company since graduation until retirement.
MashaAllah.
One of those people, very old school. Aramco man, very straight to the point, dedicated. بس يعني I always looked up to him and how he was very into his job, very dedicated, wouldn't steer away from what was needed. But his management style and leadership style was always lenient. فكان دائما يقول خليكي لينة، لا تقبلي التجاوزات، لا تسمحي بأحد إنه يغلط. الصح صح والغلط غلط. طبعا very regulated place. بس نكون لينين مع بعض. I remember يعني his retirement celebration يعني لما أرسلونا الفيديوز وكذا أشوف انتوا إيش سوالكم عشان قد كده يعني you celebrated him. فعرفت إنه هو من التعامل يعني التعامل يعني أقوى من إنه أنا أعطيك فرص تترقى ولا فرص زيادات ولا any kind of other incentive. أنا حفتكر التعامل في نهاية اليوم. بس throughout my career يعني I was very lucky to be working with amazing managers that had a huge tremendous impact on me على أشياء بسيطة وأشياء كبيرة. Leaders إلى اليوم أقول أنا ما حقابل زيهم في حياتي. Peers, colleagues, team members that يعني إلى اليوم هم موجودين في حياتي on a personal level. It's just bliss, it's just luck. يعني أنا محظوظة يعني هذا من ربنا مو مني.
You think maybe إنه because you see the positivity in all the situations and the people, therefore أنت قادرة يعني يعني to absorb النواحي اللي بتقولي عليها الأشياء الإيجابية ال positive impact اللي أخذتيها.
شوفي هو for sure دينا. I had to be that way. هو ما كان يعني option إنه whether to take it positively or negatively ولا حتى realistically. لأنه the challenges اللي مريت فيها in order for me to keep يعني the sanctity of my mind and make the best out of any situation I was in, I had to look at the glass half full. And then it becomes يعني أكثر من mindset. It becomes a practice that is so natural that everything else feels foreign. That's a huge part of it. صح.
هذه نعمة من الله.
صحيح الحمد لله.
So take us through your professional journey.
تمام. فأنا يعني تخرجت من الجامعة as banking and finance مع إنه ما كان هو التخصص اللي أبغاه. من صغري كنت أبغى advertising which is what I studied in high school. عشان كذا جامعاتي إذا ما قبلتني إنه مين يتخرج high school ب advertising. لكن الوالد being a little bit old school هو يا عندك يا هندسة يا يعني finance وبانكينج وهذه المجالات اللي نفهمها. فدرست banking and finance وعلى طول يعني حتى في نفس الشهر التخرج I was approached by NCB to join their future managers program. صراحة I forgot the name. قبله رواد جديد لسه management associate program لما قبلت فيه قالوا لي طيب أنت عندك هذه 3 شهور السمر enjoy it, it's gonna be your last summer. حياتك because afterwards يعني ما عندك شيء اسمه 3 months summer وفعلا I joined in 2007 وبعد rotations والtrainings I was appointed في product management in personal loans. وأنا هذه اللي أقولها لأي أحد يعني مقبل على سوق العمل. If you find a job in product management, product development, take it with your eyes closed. It's the best place to start your career journey لأنه you're exposed to the 360 and the entirety of the business يعني modeled by a fraction of it. In product development, you start from creating a concept to selling that concept to the stakeholders to getting their approvals, to putting together a feasibility study that includes a proper financial plan and profitability analysis, to working on the system and the technical infrastructure that will deliver this product, to working on the documents and the contracts and the Sharia approvals, to negotiating the cost of fund with the treasury, for example, to training the salespeople, to developing the marketing strategies to promote the product. But 360 outlook towards an idea that gives you exposure into almost all areas of the business. So a great place to start your career in.
It sounds like a paid entrepreneurial
100%. 100%. And you leave product management with a playbook on how to start a business. I remained there for 8 years in personal loans and residential loans, mortgage. And then I moved to marketing, which was like the natural extension. After being exposed to all the areas of the business, I found marketing to be the most similar to me as a person. Then it captures the creative side of what I like to bring into work. When I moved to marketing, I thought, if I want to continue in marketing, unfortunately, I have to leave the bank that I love so much. لأنه being the bank, being very conservative and very rigid and very governed, I wasn't able to be a free bee as I wanted to be. So I moved to Virgin Megastore, which was the complete opposite. It was very dynamic, very youthful. It was retail. In the bank, it was your typical 8 to 5. In Virgin now, it's 10 to 11 p.m. because we always used to say if the store is open, we're on call.
Right.
But it gave me the opportunity to be creative. We wanted to localize the brand. It was during the emergence of all the quality of life programs that started to arise after the Vision 2030 announcement. So we were at the heart of it from an entertainment perspective, a really good place to be at the time. And after COVID hit and all the challenges that came for retailers especially, I was approached with an opportunity to join Sila, also one of the giants of the entertainment industry for Saudi, which felt like another place where I can look at marketing from the different side of it. I wasn't sales driven. Now I'm more about creating captivating stories, building an everlasting brand, and a lot more. I stayed there for 4 years until I became the director of corporate marketing communication, which moved me back to the corporate side, the serious side. It was fun, especially that the projects that we were handling at the time were the talk of the town. Almost everything you heard over the past 4 or 5 years, the boulevards, the seasons, the city walks, the Via Riyadh, everything, we were at the heart of it. So it was quite a fun ride, and a lot of learnings and a lot of exposure came from it. Until I was approached with a different opportunity around 3 months ago, which is to work in a dates company. And it does take me back to retail, which I love, but the challenge was different. This was a very well-established family business that has a legacy. It's one of the biggest companies in the industry, and they didn't have the brand to carry out this legacy and communicate it. And that's a marketeer's dream, to be able to take all what is there and create a story out of it. Just bring it to light. I couldn't say no, although I was met with lots of skepticism that this is a smaller family business. It's an unknown company. You were in a PIF company. How can you take a step back like that? But what they don't understand is that the impact you leave is a lot bigger. And you'll have your fingerprints all over the place before you leave and after you leave. And that mattered to me the most. I'll have a story that is all mine in that place. And that's what drove me to make that change. And that's my career journey in a nutshell.
Inshallah, you're going to make this unknown to a very well-known
I really
brand.
hope so.
Inshallah, inshallah, Allah يوفقك. So, يعني, through this, your personal journey of around the world and then your professional journey, what was the, maybe let's say, most difficult situation that حسيتي عمل لك نقلة نوعية؟
صراحة, I think being a mother, a professional mother, is by itself an ongoing challenge that is not discussed enough in our circles, in our professional circles. All work challenges are manageable. They're solvable. You can get help very easily from your peers, from your managers, even from consultants. You can actually buy the help. But sorting out challenges where you have to choose between achieving your career aspirations and your professional goals and meeting the expectations of motherhood is the biggest challenge, because this kind of challenge haunts you through guilt, through emotions that really cripples you from being able to achieve what you want. You're restricted in your time. You're restricted in your physical location. You're restricted in being available. You're restricted so much that it does put a hurdle, and it does take a lot more from women to be able to achieve while this hurdle is moving year by year with them. It doesn't go away.
True.
I think that's the ongoing struggle that we haven't yet completely overcome.
The difficulty of balancing,
Yes.
We can't say life work, but as you said, motherhood, to be specific.
Yes.
أيوة. Well, inshallah, Rabbi يوفقك ويعينك. I think you have the most beautiful son, طلال الله يحميه, and he's very well brought up. We met him في الطايف, so chapeau.
Thank you so much.
Mother Rana.
Thank you.
طيب, so I'm going to open the floor to questions.
يعطيك العافية رنا. صراحة inspiring ما شاء الله. Congratulations on the new role. While you were speaking about your new role, your face just grew up, and I can see how passionate you are and excited you are for this new position. Starting from finance and where you started from, and now you're going to marketing. What are the skills that you think that you got? Many of us, we've been through the journey. We started somewhere and we ended up somewhere else. So do you feel that whatever you started with, yani you left it back and you went for something complete, or was there something that you took with you and it's adding to your experience?
Wow, Hiba, that's a very good question, to be honest. I never thought of it, but just now I think I did. I think you always carry something from where you were to where you are now. And I think you always carry something from where you want to be to where you are now. So let me just try to explain my answer. So when I was working purely in banking and finance, I did apply a lot of creativity into what I do. Part of marketing, a big part of marketing is storytelling and effective writing and communication. And I think having those skills, at the time I didn't know that could be a career by itself. But having those or being interested in those skills and you applying them in a finance job gave it an edge. Vice versa, when I was in marketing and having the background of especially product development and finance, of course, the analytical skills required to be a marketeer is not to overlook, because you do need to analyze your performance, you need to analyze the market, you need to analyze trends in a very scientific manner. So having that background does help a lot. So to answer your question, yani in a nutshell, you always take something from your, old or older profession to your new one, and the opposite.
Rana, thank you very much for your inspiring story. I think Allah يوفقك ما شاء الله, very, very excellent career. My question is more related to the move you've done through your career from banking, which is a very heavily regulated, structured, governed industry, to Sila, which is also, I could consider a regulated, maybe structured, and now to a family business. I know it's only 4 months, and I know you didn't fit. You said you didn't fit in the banking because it has more or a lot of restrictions. So, do you think now you are in the right place, which fits Rana's personality?
To be honest, I really don't. I really didn't think so, because it was against everything I thought was right. Being an outsider to a family felt really scary. They have their own club, their own way of doing things. But when you suddenly find yourself part of that family, you completely change how you feel. You understand why they do things the way they do them. And suddenly you become an advocate for them. When I was 3 months ago criticizing some of their approaches, now I'm a defendant of these approaches. And I guess that's how a cultural fit can play a huge role in changing your beliefs and your attitudes about the workplace, which is something that's quite overlooked by many organizations. But if they take care of that, I think the result and the impact would be tremendous. I hope that answered your question.
Sorry. So, do you feel now you are in a better environment because it has more freedom than your previous jobs?
Okay, for sure. I thrive on freedom. And I was telling my manager that in the early stages when I joined them, that I will be very forward. I will make some decisions that I don't want you to question. I will make some mistakes, but I will own them. I'll tell you I made a mistake. I'll be responsible for rectifying that mistake. But if you want the best out of me, let me do whatever I want to do. And he said, that's what we want, so welcome.
MashaAllah.
Thank you, Rana. Your story, mashallah, and your adaptability is very inspiring. What you talked about in the end, about being a professional mom and its challenges, as someone who sees that as her future, what would you advise her?
I think I wish, that's a very good question, because I wish someone had explained it to me when I was starting my motherhood journey while I was a professional working female. Like the historic examples are from the professionals were teachers. They were home at a decent hour, they had long breaks, and their job did not demand any availability after hours. So the examples we had growing up did not warn us enough. But I wish someone told me that working mothers need to manage their expectations and be ready to accept the fact that sometimes you have to compromise on either or the sides. You can have it all for sure. Alhamdulillah, we're enabled. We do live in a very supportive country overall. It's what we're talking about is personal goals that sometimes we want to achieve, but there are domestic challenges. So I would advise them to be very realistic and be very accepting of the compromise you have to make sometimes. Don't let the guilt eat you, and don't let the lucrative opportunities that you miss upset you. There'll be something better waiting for you that will fit you perfectly.
مرة شكراً ويعطيك العافية. يعني I feel especially proud as a female, and I look up to people like you who ما شاء الله accomplish a lot in life. And I especially connected with the fact that you lived abroad for a while. I'm still living abroad, and it's been more than 15 years. How did it feel coming back? I know you spoke a bit about this, and how did you adapt with the whole? Because أنا برضو من جدة, بس the last time I lived in Jeddah was like when I was 15 years old. I still connect with the city, but once I come back, I don't know how it's gonna be. It's a very personal question, but
No, it's fine. Look, you're lucky that you live, you're going through this during those times where the exposure to your life from the people who live here is very high. So they do understand, and they're already aware, because maybe you're posting it on social media, how you live, how you spend your day, what you eat, and what movies you watch, and so on. So they already have an idea of who you are and what you do without you having to take the effort to explain it and show it. And that's one of the advantages of living in a very socially exposed time, let's say an era. So living abroad, you have, when you started and when you grew up abroad, you had to accept the community and the society that you moved to by finding common grounds and basically exposing a little bit of who you are to them step by step. You're going to do the same here. The only difference is that here there's already a sense of belonging. There's a sense of welcoming that you will be very happy to embrace when you come back. So it's a lot easier to come back than to live abroad. That's my personal experience.
طيب يعطيك العافية رنا. I have two very marketing question.
Sure.
Most of the people إذا مثلا اختاروا كانوا يبغوا تخصص معين، بعدين شاءت الأقدار وما قدروا يدخلوا هذا التخصص ودخلوا تخصص ثاني، they pursue their career على نفس التخصص اللي درسوه في الجامعة، لكن أنتي رجعتي لنفس التخصص اللي كنت تبغيه من أيام الثانوية وكملتي your whole career فيه. What is so special about marketing؟ ليش اخترتي الماركتينج وفضلتي تكملي فيه؟
That's a very tough question. I never asked myself that, to be honest. I think it's one of the very, very few fields that employs the human psyche, because you have to understand why humans behave this way and that way. Why do they respond to this, not to that? So that's a very kind of niche science. And it employs, scientific methods. Yes, 1 + 1 = 2. That also exists in marketing. There is a formula. It just takes a long time to find yours. Plus, it takes advantage of technology, which is something I'm also very passionate about, and that's ever changing. But I guess, so that's like a personal kind of preference. But I guess how marketing can impact people is something that is very rewarding to be, part of. You either make people think, make people laugh, smile, buy. So that having that power to influence, I think, is very appealing.
Interesting. طيب سؤال ثاني. لو رجعتي بالزمن في بداية كاريرك وجاتك two opportunities, well established brand and you work on the brand building. الفرصة الثانية similar to the opportunity اللي انت دحين بتشتغلي فيها انه برضو well established brand بس ما هو ظاهر للناس. Which opportunity that you will choose?
ايش two options؟
يعني اوبشن يجيك انت في بدايه كاريرك جاك اوبشن انه عندك براند ويل استابليشد براند اوريدي معروف يو ويل ورك اون ذا براند مانجمنت ذا هول اسبكت اوف ات. الاوبشن الثاني انه لا البراند مو معروف او build it from scratch.
يعني شوف صراحة for an early career I would go for the well established because you're in the learning phase. يعني you move to something that is unestablished and you build it from scratch when you have something to give back. And you have learnings, you have experiences, because this is where you draw the conclusions from. Otherwise, the learning curve will be so slow and you will lose some of the momentum that you could have gained from a well-established phase.
يعطيك العافية رنا. I think when you started working, you entered a field that was male dominated, and I'm sure you faced criticisms, and now يمكن to certain people that going from a larger corporation to a small family-owned business is a step back. So how do you deal with such criticisms, and how do you cope?
I honestly tell them that I'm just happy. I've done the corporate life, the corporate grind for 18 years. I have the track record to prove it. It's where I find myself, where I find my happiness, because of the freedom, because of the amount of flexibility and the opportunity to create this impact. It's purely that. A very emotional decision, to be honest. Yes, تفضل.
طبعا knowing الشركة اللي انت رحتي عليها بس هتكلم عربي. knowing الشركة انت رحتي عليها وفي التمور وقوتها في تصدير التمور للخارج دول مرة كثير. وbeing a 2030 leader and a marketeer. I think you can make this as big as possible. I think it's not that small anymore. مع الكلتشر مع الثقافة و how can we really promote Saudi culture through dates being distributed all over the world. it's not that small at all. هي بس عشان كانت فصلة يعني. فالله يوفقك. انت what do you think being from a very complicated product development في البنوك لأنه it's very financial and segmentation وطريقة التارجتينج بكاستمرز مختلفة وبعدين in extremely mass brands و building destinations actually في صلة وماركتينج الديستنيشنز هذه وإنك ترجع اللي very basic product ما في أي addition ما في أي شيء هو فقط which type and filling نفس المويه. كيف تتوقع يكون how do you expect الapproach بيكون معك؟
It's not the same type. It's not just filling. It's more than that. It's a piece of our heritage. It's a piece of our ancestors' lives. It's very, very precious. And how basic it is what makes it very unique. It's what makes it one of our real sources of wealth as a nation and as a culture. It's a lot bigger than destinations. It's a lot bigger than loans. It's nurturing. It's part of our religion. It's in the fabric of our society for generations. And we are small compared to it. That's honestly how I see it.
Wow. Rana, يعني صراحة what you just
Yes,
did,
thank you for your
in
question.
the 4 months you were there, the passion that you just said that with. يعني انتي, you literally just, you created the story, the passion, you brought all your emotions into this. That's a whole other ball game. Anna, I'm going to ask the last question, which is, Rana, you have the leaders and you have all the spectators that are going to be watching this. What is the to-go to?
Oh, thank you. What I enjoy the most, صراحة, is when someone comes to me with a very complicated problem that cannot be solved with a straightforward approach, and they come to me for a creative solution. So I noticed that throughout my career, but I just have one achievement to talk about because it has been my pride and joy, صراحة. So when I was working in the bank in marketing, I was approached by the head of the branch network, basically the person who handled all the branches of the bank. And he came to me and said, we were planning for the next year. And he said, we get our sales numbers. Our profitability is unmatched. We're very happy with the numbers. We're not happy with the service quality. And we need to figure out a solution because our NPS, the Net Promoter Scores, are not exceeding 30 on the best days. And the solution needs to be non-financial, no financial or monetary compensation. So I told him, just give me some time because I have a process. I need to think, I need to search, I need to find best practices and so on. I need to be alone. That's my method. So I came back to him with a whole program. I called it the Champions of Service. And it's very similar to military ranking, but we rank employees based on the evaluations they get from customers. So they have a pin that displays whether it's a 1-star employee, 2 stars, or 3 stars. They get titles. And because I felt it was very important to have branding on an employee level, because it's something that they can promote themselves. And from the perspective of the customer, when the customer sees that this organization is clearly branding the service level of its employees, they're really investing. So I'll pay attention. They must have something. The incentives, when we looked at the incentives, because they have to be a reward, we looked at what incentivizes employees other than money. And we came up with a whole list of rewards based on their performance, starting from lunch with an executive, to a parking spot, to extra vacation days, things like that. Even like some professional rewards, like shadowing and so on. And I don't remember all of them now. The results were astonishing. So the first month we employed, we made a big campaign out of it, طبعاً. The first month we employed this program, our NPS score jumped from 30 to 60 in 1 month.
MashaAllah.
The month after to around 70. The month after to around 80.
MashaAllah.
And the program did so well that the board of directors at the time requested that there be a section on the status and the performance of this program in their weekly reports. And I was so happy to hear that even years after I left, the program is still, now it's I think gone, but was still in place. They still continued. They improved also on it, mashallah.
MashaAllah.
And that's the kind of challenges I enjoy the most.
that have creativity.
that have creativity. Yes.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You took us through a beautiful journey and you showed us what passion with creativity can do. Shukran, Rana, for this
Thank you.
wonderful experience and for inspiring us to dream with passion.
Thank you for
Shukran.
having me. Thank you. Shukran.